Hi everyone, Debbie Cork here. I've just finished tidying and organising my art space. So I thought I promised a video on how I organise my images and a bit about my craft room organisation. So here goes. Not quite sure how this is going to turn out because I'm just holding the phone in my hand, but we'll give it a go. As you can see, I have the most fabulous set of rainbow drawers. In fact, this is 5 sets. I bought these when I moved into the house because there wasn't really any furniture for storing my art stuff. Got them from The Range if you're here in the UK, and they also sell them in Hobbycraft, and they've been fabulous. The reason why I've just reorganised them is because, as you can see, this is in the spare bedroom, and my little grandson, who's 2, is going to be going into the bed shortly, so he'll be into everything. And I had used these units for more or less storing everything, so I had to have a bit of a change around because he's very inquisitive obviously, and would have been into my drawers that had all sorts of things like scissors and glue, which obviously isn't going to be very safe. Fine while he's in the cot, but shortly he'll be moving into a bed. So I'm going to walk you slowly over to the drawers because this is where I keep my storage of my images. I'll start with the backgrounds first. I find if I have lots of separate boxes, I find it quite difficult. So having these sets of drawers works well. And how I organise my images, I'm not sure how well this is going to work at all, but I do mine in size like lots of other people. So these are backgrounds. So I've organised it in mainly the 2 categories are backgrounds and images. So focal images, for example. I cut out a lot from magazines. I absolutely love doing it. It's a great way to relax. So these are all small pieces of background that may or may not come in useful, as you can see. All mixed up, no further category than that own size. And then I have the same for medium. Medium is a bit of a random size. There's no exact science to this, but it's roughly about postcard size. And again, these are all backgrounds, so that's medium backgrounds, and this is large backgrounds, so this is anything that's more or less bigger than a half sheet of copy paper. But more backgrounds really than focal images. So just things I've cut out of magazines that are waiting to be used. So then I go on to, I keep a certain amount of papers for junk mail. So I have envelopes, the business reply envelopes. I have things like pizza menus, stuff that comes through the post if I pick up any leaflets from anywhere. And so basically stuff that would make the pages. And then I have a drawer for painted papers. So this includes, this is masking tape that I've painted, down to things that I've stamped on or jelly printed. So they're all in one drawer, so I know where to go. Then I have a drawer for patterned paper. So this might be scrapbook paper, wrapping paper, any sort of paper that's not plain basically. As you can see, the drawers are still a little bit full. Going down, I have miscellaneous backgrounds, and this is where I have plastic pockets for things like book text. I have one for maps, I have one for security envelopes. They're just the normal office plastic pockets that you get with the holes down the side. I have some music paper. I have sort of coloured text I've cut out, puzzle pages, all sorts of things, but just sort of roughly categorised. Sometimes they just get thrown in the drawer. I have one for napkins. Little bits of napkins are in a smaller bag, just in the same drawer. And actually this is the overflow for my tissue paper because I didn't realise, but I seem to be a secret hoarder of tissue paper. Then there is the tissue paper drawer, both plain and patterned. And then I have a drawer for serendipity papers. So these are the ones that I'm making with just so anything that's just a strip. If I've cut up an odd strip of colour from a magazine article. And then underneath are the papers that I'm in the middle of making. Either that's not actually strips, that's odd bits of scraps of paper left from a project. That one, as you can see, is odd bits of book text, but I will be making some with strips, so they're all in there. So it's both papers that have been made and waiting to be made. And this basically is anything else. So it might be sort of that sort of cellophane-y sort of stuff, foil paper, I've got some foreign text, any tracing paper, anything that basically isn't in one of the other categories. I also have, and this goes on slightly onto the next section, a drawer for vintage backgrounds. So this is all stuff that is actually quite old. A lot came from my dad's when I was clearing it out. He had lots of catalogues and all sorts of things. So I've kept those ready to do a vintage one. I also have a plastic pocket for single colour. So might be a patterned one of the yellows, and then also there's a plain one, so yellows and oranges roughly together, and they're just basically odd strips in case you want. That's waiting to be filed. They're just in there. Quite useful to have a pack of mix, so if I'm going anywhere I can just pick up that pack and know there's a bit of everything in it, blues and greens. So they're all in one drawer. And I also have a drawer, and now this is paper, this is an odd one, but if it's been a nice magazine that's had nice quality paper, if there were pages that I've cut when I've cut the magazine up that I didn't actually like, didn't actually want to keep any of it, then I've kept just the individual pages, and this I use for my jelly printing so that I don't use plain new paper every time, because actually it makes it more interesting if you do it onto magazine papers, particularly if they're nice quality ones. So that's a drawer ready for printing. So hold on to your horses. Hope this won't make you too sick. I'm just going to stand up again because I'm on the floor at the moment. Going on to the images side and how I organise images, and you'll see it's very similar to the background. The small images, so not very big ones, and these are just very random. And I also have a basket in the back of the drawer, which is what I take out when I put it on my desk when I want small images. I just sort of fill this basket up. But it lives in here so that they're all together. And I also have a box with tiny weeny images in. So this is anything sort of thumbnail size, ready for those tiny spots. Then it goes on to medium images, which again is about the postcard size. Again, nothing further categorised than that in these drawers. And then large images, which is going onto a whole page. There's a difference not much difference between background and images. Some images I use as backgrounds, but I know sort of roughly, because I've done a bit now, that which ones I will be using as images and which ones I'll be doing as backgrounds. This one is all text, all letters and actually numbers at the moment, because I haven't had a chance to sort them out. Words and letters. This is I just cut them out and stick them in here. I'm going to sort them out because I want to do a word journal, so I'll need them a bit more sorted than that, but at the moment when I cut them out they just go into there. So I'm gonna make you sick again. This is food images. Now I am fascinated by food photography. I think there are some fabulous images that end up looking quite not like food, and I'm hoping to make a food journal, which is why when I'm cutting through magazines I tend to keep pages that I know will be going in this food journal. So for example, that's a fabulous one of blueberries. All sorts, large and small, so it might be small pictures of fish, for example. It might be just a cracker advert. They're not all fussy cut round, they're roughly cut out. So that's ready for a food project. And then I also keep, and there's far too many in this drawer, any images of people, because there's lots of projects that I want to do with people, but I just haven't got there yet, but they're there ready. So when I'm harvesting magazines, I not only look for small, big and medium size, I also pick out food and words and people, and also coastal images, so anything that's relating to the sea or the beach, because I find I'm drawn to those things. Now this drawer is quite empty at the moment, and I'll show you why in a minute. I'm in the middle of a project using most of it, so that's why this drawer seems very empty. And the other thing is that when I'm doing stuff I think, oh, that'd be a nice idea for a project coming up. So I tend to save them ready for when I'm ready to do the project. I don't know when it will be, it might never be, but I sort of have it in the back of my mind that these are the next sort of theme journals that I'd like to do at some stage. So this one is Cornwall, which is a very favourite place of mine to holiday. So I'm starting to collect either text or images that relate solely to Cornwall, so that when I'm ready to do it, I know the images are already there. These are just very nice images that I found. I thought would make quite a nice medieval book. So that one's just sort of starting, and I have a black and white folder in this drawer, but these were more sort of really nice drawings that came out of a book, and also a dictionary had little tiny pictures. I don't know if you can see that there, and actually I thought they would be really nice in a journal of their own, so sort of line drawings. I also thought I'd do a drawing, a book on scouting and guiding, because I was a guide leader for lots of years, and I have lots of books which I'd no longer need, and I thought it'd be really nice to have a theme journal, both the pages and the images that relate to scouting, as a reminder of my times with them. I also collect what I call graphics. Sorry, I'm moving about here. What I call graphics. Around. So anything that's sort of designed as opposed to a photograph, I keep those separately with a view to possibly doing a journal relating to those. This is a transport one because I have 2 grandsons who love cars, trains, boats, planes, anything to do with that. So I have a mind to do some journals for them. I also have one for clothes. I always think they're lovely to collect, and I'm going to do something with them. Haven't decided what yet. This is a nice set of gift that I was gifted from Carla, some little things to use, so I want to use those in a special project. This is animals and birds, another sort of general black and white one. And again, when I'm sorting things, I tend to keep these categories because I know I have separate projects for them. This is a strange image, but it's a ladder, if you can see that. But I keep a book of favourite images, so that I did do a special journal with all my favourite images, which is why there isn't many in there, but I've just started to collect them again. And one on places I'd like to visit, pictures, fruit. This is one on books that I'm wanting to do, so you'll see hopefully these projects coming up over the next year. This is the remains of a Thomas the Tank Engine project that I did, a squash book for my grandson, and I'd like to make another book. And then flowers just in the bottom there. So those are all, that's the only sort of sorting that I do in terms of images. I know what's in there. I'm always starting new ones because I always have new ideas for images, but I don't think that matters really. And I know they're in there, so if I'm looking for something in particular, then I can find them. I'll just put those back. Getting very full, that one. We've done that one when we've done those 3. So that's basically how I organise my images and background papers. The addition to that is, I'm just moving over to the desk here. I have a set of baskets, as I'm sure most people do. And this is for what we call in the Arts Experiments group fish bits. I have 2 baskets that are just general, so when I'm cutting anything out, if I haven't had time to sort it out yet, they go into here. So this is backgrounds, this is images, they're mainly small ones. And then my other background sort of stuff is organised by colour. So orange and yellow, pink, purple, green, and then I have one for matte bits. So they just all stack together on the side of my desk and live on my desk, so they're slightly separate. And what I find is when I'm getting short of things in those, I fill them up from the small backgrounds drawer. This is my desk, as you can see, very tidy at the moment. It's not normally this tidy. This is my sort of working space. I'll come over here a bit so you can see it. So that's it. So it's just at the end of those rainbow drawers. So the beauty of that is that when I'm working, I can actually reach all of those things in those images very easily in those drawers, so it's very easy to find. The ones that I have out on my desk are 2 current projects. This is the coastal stuff. I said to you, not much in the coastal drawer, it's because it's all on my desk. So I'm doing a coastal journal. Here you can see it's in the making. I've just started it. I've selected anything that's the right sort of colour. So that's a mixture of backgrounds and images. I've also got some ephemera here that I've collected that's sort of coastal related. I've got the turquoise and blue small basket that matches the others next to the project, and I've also got one for black and white because that's got sort of text and things in. And then I have stamps and washi tape that I've selected ready for the project in this bag here. So that's basically how I organise stuff. Oh, this is another current project. This is my abstract journal, which some of you will have seen on the Arts Experiments group. So basically I have the journal that I made, the pens that I'm using, and everything just in a basket on the desk. So I've actually got 2 projects on the go on the desk, and that's usually how it works. I have lots of things on the go at the same time. I've also got, as you can see on the top of the desks here, that's my collection of, well, part of my collection. You can't really see because it's in the light. The colour boxes are part of my beachcombing things. So I've got things like sea glass, stones, bottle tops, all that sort of thing, waiting for a project to remind me that I've got lots of beachcombing projects as well as paper ones. These 2 boxes here, I'll pan out a bit so you can see how it all fits in. These just on top of the rainbow drawers. This one is my magazines waiting to be harvested, and it has complete magazines waiting, plus part ones that I'm halfway through, plus the images that I've selected from them. And then when I fancy having a file of them, I'll file them into these drawers, which are just here. So it's very easy, they're very close. I really enjoy doing that, so that's not a problem at all. In this one are just the odd bits that I've cut off things. So these will go into the drawers on my desk, the baskets on my desk. Just haven't got that far yet. But again, I think when you're working on a project, you don't always want to refile everything straight away, so that tends to go in there. And these here are the projects that I'm halfway through. So I did a lot of work last year trying to get that down so that there weren't so many of them. I've got probably about 12 to 14 now waiting, which is great. It'd be nice if they all fitted in that one tin. But they don't quite, not yet, but hopefully they will do soon. So if we pan back round, I've got the light here. As I mentioned, the reason for doing this was because when my grandson comes to stay, in those drawers, the rainbow drawers, before I had all of these things, and also on the desk, and I was very conscious that it was very dangerous. So I had this beautiful cart. Let me pan out a bit. It's an IKEA called a Rascal cart or something, which I wanted for Christmas, so that that's all my pens, which I've just reorganised, and also tools and paintbrushes, that sort of thing. It's fabulous, this cart, because it's actually wider. I know lots of people have these. And then on the next drawer down, I have all my things like my gelatos, my watercolour pencils, all that sort of thing, and also cleaning things. And then on the bottom drawer, let me keep it up with this, is all my notebooks. So things like ideas books, where I write odd things, and then an odd packet at the end with odd pieces of card and small notebooks and things in. But the beauty of this cart, sorry, I'm getting very excited about my cart, but that's what you're actually seeing on the screen, is that actually it's so wide that you can have stuff on both sides. So at the back of this one are my glues. I've also got sewing kit and my mobile holder. And then at the bottom, I've got my books for gluing and my stencils and everything else. So it really is fabulous. And the idea is that when the little fella is coming to stay, it will wheel into this cart. Now, most people have a fitted wardrobe for clothes, not me. This is the fitted wardrobe in the spare room. I'll pan out a bit so you can see. And this is the equivalent of my attic and my loft. So I don't have an attic or a loft in this new house. So the top is all stuff that you would normally have in your attic, so Christmas stuff, memory box, all those sorts of things. And then the bottom part of it is all my crafting stuff. So let me pan in a little bit closer, try not to go too fast. So in this set of drawers here, which was bequeathed to me by my daughter who was having a clear out, I've put all the things that were in the rainbow drawers. So this has glue, let's come a bit closer. It has pens, my Pisca paint pens. It has tools and things, my bead rollers, craft knives and things, sellotape, ink pads, obviously a miscellaneous drawer, everyone has to have one of those. And then on the units themselves, these are all things like extra notebooks, large paper, which isn't the best way of storing it, I know, but it's the I can see it all, so I know where it is. Coming down to books to be altered, and things like labels, copy paper, that sort of thing. Going on down, larger notebooks. I've got to think about notebooks. And then going round the back are my spare index cards, ready for the index card challenge. And then on the bottom in these are my acrylic paints and all sorts of odd things like gesso and re-inkers, that sort of thing, and my inks. And then the other side isn't really art stuff, it's really everything else you have, so games, extra files, that sort of thing, guillotine and everything in there. And then these blue folders, the top one is my printing thing, so when I get the jelly plate out it's all in one place. And then these boxes, these blue boxes, which are rather large, I've got all my beach combing stuff in, ready to make some beach combing crafts as well. So just one more thing to show you. So I've had a real good clear out of this because I had a lot more in here, you couldn't actually get in here. And the idea of this cupboard now is that space there just fits my cart. So when little man is here, the cart can be wheeled in, plus anything else that's he could be into. And then I can lock this cupboard so it's all safe and the bedroom is a safe place for him to play. I'm just going to pan round slowly. This is the only other thing I have, and this is a bookcase, which is normally behind a chair. And this is books that I'm keeping, so books about crafting and journals and things on that side. And then the bottom two drawers are all stuff that I use, like books for text paper, catalogues. So on the right hand side there, the yellow and blue, that's things like a spare en masse journal catalogue. At the bottom there's spare things like music paper. So I'm hoping that this will diminish. Yes, I know they don't usually, but I'm hoping that this will diminish over time as I use up more text paper and more music paper, those sorts of things. So everything now has a home, more or less. I'm trying to keep it tidy, and more to the point, I'm hoping it will be safe when little man comes to stay. I'll obviously have to move a few more things into the room when he's here, but off the desk. But on the whole, I think it will work quite well. So I hope it hasn't made you too giddy. I hope it's been useful, and that's my craft room. Thanks very much. Bye bye.